Good afternoon to everyone who's just joining us for the third instalment of the LSBU Business School Professional Lecture Series. Before I hand over to Barbara for her presentation today, I'm just going to take you through some housekeeping. So my name is Neil Hudson-Basing. I'm the Corporate Events Manager for London South Bank University. I just have a short webinar statement to read to you around dignity and respect. So everyone speaking at or attending an LSBU event, whether in person or virtually, should be treated with respect, dignity, and courtesy. LSBU operates an environment built on equality, inclusion, and acceptance. We value contributions, feedback, and comments, and wish to create a space for sharing, learning, celebrating, and bringing communities together. LSBU does not tolerate any form of bullying, abuse, harassment, or discrimination. Inappropriate behaviour, including that potentially impacts or contradicts LSBU's reputation and values, will be treated seriously and acted upon. Anyone exhibiting any of this behaviour will also be removed from the webinar. We want our events to be an enjoyable and warm experience for all. Thank you for adhering to these guidelines. And our events really have become that. Our virtual event offering has been enjoyable. It's been warm. It's been accessible and approachable for everyone. So we want this third instalment of the Business School Professional Lecture Series to be the way that it was last year. It was really fantastically well received. We had a great audience that kept engaged throughout. So please do use the chat box, which you'll see on the bottom bar, to share your thoughts, comments, and everything throughout the event. We would love to hear from you, and you can help us break down that virtual wall that we're all experiencing at the moment. There will be an opportunity for questions, and Barbara is ready to answer all of those for you. We'd like to encourage you to ask a live question if you're happy to, and to do so, you simply have to turn your camera on, and I'll know to come to you next. But if you'd rather use the chat box and you're more comfortable doing that, then that's absolutely fine as well. You can also select to raise your hand if you'd like to ask it via audio, but not use your camera. That's all from me. I'm here for the whole time. So any questions, please feel free to pop me in the message in the chat box. And without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Barbara.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending my talk. I have to say that this is the second time I use Zoom for webinars, and it's such a much better experience than MS Teams. I will just share my screen, and then yeah, let's see if it works. I'm supposed to share. Okay, and if I make it full screen, hopefully that will, yeah, perfect. So Neil, can you see my slides? Is it working?
Perfectly,
it's working.
It's all good.
Okay, just making sure. So welcome everyone to my talk. My name is Barbara, and I'm Associate Professor of Marketing here at LSBU. I joined LSBU in 2018. In April, so it's been almost 3 years at LSBU for me. And today I just wanted to talk about how business schools, can business schools help to transform societies? Can we do something beyond, selling products and convincing people to buy another pair of jeans and another, another product? And the reason I'm talking about this, because I've had a bit of a sort of identity crisis, and I was thinking, do I want to stay within business schools? Do I want to teach at a business school? Do I want to contribute to this, free market idea of pushing products and services onto consumers? And then I thought, there must be a different way that I can use my knowledge to help others, to help individuals, and to help societies. So that's the reason why I'm talking today, about the topic whether business schools can help to transform societies. Specifically, I'll be focusing on using marketing, the knowledge, skills, experience from commercial marketing that we can use for the greater good. So essentially, the question for today, for my talk, is can commercial marketers serve societies, individuals, in a way different than manipulating us to buy another unneeded product? It will be a short talk for those of you who are commercial marketers, who are wondering, can you switch? Can you do a career change? Can you use your experience, your knowledge that you gained in commercial marketing somewhere else, to benefit society, to benefit, to help individuals make better decisions? And this talk is also for those of you who work in non-commercial settings and your role requires developing activities aimed at changing behavior of individuals, and you want to know a little bit more about how to use marketing for that purpose. I'm hoping not to go longer than half an hour, so it's essentially social marketing 101, just a short, brief introduction into using marketing for societal benefit. So what I will cover today in this talk is definition of marketing. So what is marketing in a commercial context? Then what is social marketing, and how we can use the principles, frameworks, planning frameworks, and tools of marketing to help individuals and societies make better decisions that benefit them as individuals, but also benefit society at large. And I will just use one example that I really like, where social marketing was used to encourage behavior change, and it was quite successful, obviously in a non-commercial setting. So what is marketing? Most of you probably know what is marketing. You're exposed to marketing activities every day, most of the time, every minute of the day. And when we teach marketing at business schools, it's usually to teach students how to sell more products, how to increase profits. And that's the aim of teaching marketing in business schools, in those kind of Western free market economies. Very commercial definition of marketing is that it's the activity, set up institutions, roles, processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. So on one hand, we teach marketing to sell more, to deliver products and services, and ultimately to increase profits, to make money. But marketing can and has been used to influence individuals and societies to make better choices, to deliver social good, and we call it social marketing. Now I've moved the screens, and okay. So what is social marketing? And I have to keep moving the icons because, okay, now that should be better. So what is social marketing? Social marketing is a conceptual cluster of principles, concepts, and techniques that together offer a framework for designing and implementing behavior change programs that aim to deliver social good. Of course, social marketing, just like commercial marketing, is influenced by many disciplines: management, sociology, psychology, economics, communications theories. So quite a wide range of fields feed into what social marketers and marketers do. And whilst commercial marketing activities focus on selling products and services, social marketing activities focus on convincing people to behave in a different way. Very often it's to, for example, decrease their consumption of certain products, or to stop consumption of certain products, or to change the way they consume certain products. But of course, it doesn't just apply to products. It applies to ideas. It applies to services. And when we talk about social marketing, we often have a kind of very straightforward division of social marketing activities. They are downstream social marketing activities. They are aimed to target individual behavior, so behavior of us. But it's also upstream social marketing, where those marketing activities are targeting decision makers, policymakers, providers of services, and regulators. So social marketing is essentially taking what we know about marketing, taking what we know about consumer behavior, taking what we know about how to influence consumer behavior, and applying it to situations where you want to encourage people to change their behavior, but it doesn't relate to buying products that are meant to increase profit. So, for example, I think that the most popular example is, for example, anti-smoking campaigns. Okay, that's an example of social marketing. But anything else, buying less, recycling, saving money, protecting animals, fundraising for charities, that all comes under the very wide umbrella of social marketing. Very short list of very few marketing frameworks, okay, that can be used in social marketing. Of course, I'll start with the 4 Ps. So product, place, price, promotion. This is what we teach business schools marketing students when we teach marketing. It's probably something they learn in their first year. The basic marketing mix. And of course, there are variations of the 4 Ps, which can also be applied in the context of social marketing. The concept of segmentation, targeting, and positioning, looking at who your target market is, so you can develop interventions that are more appropriate for a particular segment of the market. And of course, marketing planning frameworks. And here, I've given 2 examples, SoftStack and Oasis, but general marketing planning frameworks that starts with a question: where are we now? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? Did we get there? That's actually the foundation of also social marketing planning. Promotion, how to communicate to encourage behavior change. That's what social marketing does. Pricing. In social marketing, it's sometimes called cost. What is the cost? What are people giving up to change their behavior? So what are people giving up to start exercising more? What are people giving up to start eating healthier? Pest analysis, again, it's a framework that we often teach in marketing to marketing students, but also a framework that is used in social marketing. And of course, many more concepts, frameworks, and tools of marketing, of commercial marketing, are used in social marketing. These are just a few that I've picked because they are the basic tools that we use. So if you're a commercial marketer and if you know how to influence behavior to sell a product, you can take that knowledge and you can apply it somewhere else. I call it to, in more meaningful segments and contexts. But essentially, if you're tired of commercial marketing, there's another career for you out there. 4 Ps in commercial and social marketing. So although 4 Ps is the basic marketing mix framework in marketing, criticized, it has evolved, it has been extended. Some marketers like it and think it can be applied. It's very useful. Others don't, and I'm aware of that criticism. But if we take this basic marketing mix, 4 Ps framework, in social marketing, it's been translated into social marketing so that price then become cost. So what is the price? What is the cost that people pay to perform a specific behavior? So for example, what is the cost of recycling? What do people have to do to perform that specific behavior? Because if costs are too high, so for example, if it takes too much effort, if I have to go to a recycling center to recycle specific products, I'm probably less likely to do it because it's just not convenient. So here you have to in social marketing, you have to think like a commercial marketer. How do you make it easy for people to perform the behavior? How do you make the costs or the price they pay for performing that behavior affordable to them? Okay, so what is the limit? What is the effort that essentially is the ceiling? And people say, well, it's too much effort. I cannot do it. And for example, my own personal example is if I want to recycle batteries. I don't do it. I don't do it because I always forget to take it to a supermarket, and I'm not going to say what I do with them, but I think here's an opportunity for social marketers to work on how to change that particular behavior, how to decrease those costs. Place in the 4Ps becomes accessibility in social marketing. How do individuals consume a given product? Where do they consume it? Is it accessible? How do we deliver a particular idea or a service to them so that they can access it, they can use it? Promotion becomes social communication in social marketing, which is essentially about how do you communicate to influence individuals, organizations, and policymakers. So that's all about, for example, advertising or any other type of communication. And the product becomes proposition in social marketing. How do you develop a product, a proposition that individuals will use, but also how do you develop an idea? How do you package it so that people buy it, so that people do it? So this is just one of the frameworks that has been translated into social marketing. So again, if you're a commercial marketer, you can transfer that to social marketing context. A little bit more about what social marketers can do in terms of using what they've learned in commercial marketing to affect change, to affect social change. In the UK, the National Social Marketing Centre is the institution that does a lot of social marketing work with national and international clients, but has also developed quite and adapted quite a few frameworks from marketing to the context of social marketing. And these 8 benchmarks of social marketing are usually quite useful when you think about social marketing campaigns, when you plan social marketing campaigns. So the first benchmark, the first issue is behavior. It's just as in commercial marketing, in social marketing context, it's very important to be very clear, very specific about which behaviors you want to change. In commercial marketing, we call it SMART objectives. The same applies in social marketing context. What do you want to achieve? What behaviors do you want to change? How much time do you have to do it? How are you going to measure it? What are the key performance indicators? What are the indicators that you will be looking at to see if people are changing their behavior? The second benchmark is customer orientation. Whatever you're planning, you should be putting the audience in the center of it. Okay, you should be understanding what they are doing, how they are consuming a particular idea, how they perform a particular behavior. So for example, for people who smoke, why do they smoke? What leads them to smoking? So that understanding of consumers is really important, just as is in commercial marketing. Theory, another benchmark, and I know that there's no theory that explains fully every single behavior, but there are theories that explain a bigger proportion of behaviors. They're more successful in explaining behaviors, and it's good to use it. That's what social marketers aim to do. They want to be driven by theories that have been proven to explain behavior. insight, which relates to consumer research, looking at what is it about consumers, about individuals that can be changed. So how does that behavior happen essentially? Another one is exchange, just like in commercial marketing. What is it that they are gaining and what are they giving up? Okay, so what are the benefits and costs of starting the new behavior, maintaining it? So what's the exchange essentially? Just as in commercial marketing, if you pay, what is the price that you're willing to pay? Competition, very important to understand. What is the competition? So for example, if I don't recycle, why is it I don't recycle? What do I do instead? Why, for example, I'm not willing to give up the time to go and take whatever I need to recycle to the recycling center? So what other things are competing for my time and attention, and how I can, be better than the competition in a way. Segmentation and marketing methods makes it. Segmentation, obviously, it's good to know your audience. You divide it and you focus on specific target segments. If you want to change a particular behavior, the same as in commercial marketing. So social marketing campaigns should avoid this idea that one size fits all. Okay, in most cases. And methods makes very important. Once you have done all those steps, to have a combination of methods, combination of tactics to bring about change, and not just relying on raising awareness. So social marketing includes raising awareness, but it's not the only tactic that should be used. It's not the only objective of social marketing campaigns. And just looking at the time, so we still have a few minutes. An example of a very, very nice social marketing campaign that was done by the New Zealand Border and Compliance Department, or executed by the New Zealand Border Compliance. And I really liked it because they used the marketing planning process, and they've looked at the problem, used data to inform what the problem was, and they did some consumer research. They learned why people behave in that problematic way. They identify that people are simply not aware of what they can or cannot bring into New Zealand, and why they are not permitted to bring in certain items. They also identify specific segments of travelers who are more problematic than others, and they focused on those segments and designed interventions that were targeted at those segments, and they were essentially developed to take into account the cultural background as well. And the solution was that they designed a range of interventions, of tactics at different stages of the consumer journey, and they were really quite successful. So the problem for New Zealand Border Compliance was that people were bringing a lot of items that posed a biosecurity hazard. Usually it's food, but things like hiking boots used hiking boots can also be a biosecurity hazard. And international travelers to New Zealand don't know about this. They bring in those items, and it poses biosecurity risk even if they are stopped at the border. So this program, was aimed at specific segments to make people aware why they shouldn't bring in specific items, to reduce essentially the number of people who bring those items in. It's just an example of this was a social media image, and all those images are available on the New Zealand Ministry of Primary Industries website, so you can actually read about the campaign, look at the numbers, how successful it was, what kind of materials they used. and how culturally sensitive the interventions were, following the principle of co-creation with consumers, with your target market. But this is just a very short overview of what they did, what kind of marketing tactics they used to influence the behavior and increase awareness at all the stages of consumer journey, so pre-travel, in journey, and on arrival. So what happened before, what was happening before this program was implemented, was that the information didn't reach travelers until they reached the airport. Okay, which is already too late. So what happened is targeting and tactics were implemented before people started traveling. They were targeted at the point of applying for visa. Okay, and that's where the communications program, because it was mainly about communications, increasing awareness, happened. So when people were starting to look at travel booking sites, when people were applying for visas, the materials were translated into native languages of those travelers, because it was mainly Chinese travelers and Indian travelers, because they constituted the biggest groups of international travelers to New Zealand. And they started very, very early. They worked with travel and tour companies in India and China, so that they receive training that they can then pass on to travelers. So working with partners in partnership with other stakeholders that were involved in the consumer journey. Then in journey, during the flight, there were certain tactics used, implemented. And then on arrival, airport signage, bins, staff to help to translate, to essentially encourage people to declare those items that are a biosecurity hazard, because of course the issue isn't just that they bring it in, some are stowed, but a lot of people don't declare it, so those items do get through the border. So range of tactics developed based on consumer research, consumer insight, targeted at specific target segments. And it was very successful. I don't want to give you numbers, I don't want to give you statistics, but it was very, very successful. Again, all the numbers you can, I'll give you a link to this. That's essentially a very good case study that shows the use of marketing tools in a social marketing context to change behavior that is not related to buying products to increase profits. If you're interested in social marketing, if you want to know more about social marketing, history, evolution, tools, how commercial tools have sometimes been modified to work in social marketing context, of course, there are a lot of resources. I'm just giving you a few that I really think are very good. So 2 textbooks that are pretty standard in social marketing, a few websites, International Social Marketing Association, World Social Marketing Conference, if you're interested in social marketing and attending events, National Social Marketing Center, based here in the UK. Very good website that gives you really good examples of very specific social marketing programs that tackle different aspects of the marketing mix of the 4 Ps. And then the last one is just a reference to the article that was written about that New Zealand Border Compliance Social Marketing Program. Also includes links to the website that shows all the communications materials and performance indicators. So that's really it. I'm looking at the time. It's 29 minutes because I said it was half an hour. If it was too fast, ask me questions. But I hope for those of you who are thinking about switching careers, I managed to sell social marketing as something that is quite interesting. And if you're a commercial marketer, you can use what you know about manipulating people to buy products, to manipulate them in a different way somewhere else. I also just wanted to say that social marketing, of course, it's an umbrella. It's a way of using the knowledge from other fields to influence people, and of course, we don't have a monopoly on changing behavior, but those marketing tools are really, really good when they are applied strategically to develop social marketing programs. So thank you very much. I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'm out of breath, I have to say. I think I was going too fast. But yes, if you have questions or just want to comments.
Fantastic. Thank you, Barbara. We'll take a breath for a sec. We are ready for questions. So I can see Lawrence has joined us on screen, and we've got one question in the Q&A box. So if you'd like to ask a question, please do pop your camera on and we'll work our way through those. And then I'll also go across to the ones in the box. But if you are happy to ask it live, please do go ahead. It's great to kind of like see people and break down that virtual wall, and we'll work our way through those. So our first question is from Lawrence. And Lawrence, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Jolly good. Yeah, it helps to switch on the mic. Actually, I didn't really have a question. I'm not quite sure, but nonetheless, here I am. I am quite interested in fact, I've made a point of this before, that apart from the environmental and ecological benefits of recycling, there are also big business opportunities, and which you alluded to. So I'm very interested in that, and quite keen to know where we are in terms of marketing, where companies are in promoting good, sound environmental behaviour. There are some examples that Selfridges. I'm sure you may have heard of Selfridges. At least in the holy city of Birmingham, where I reside, Selfridges will not sell anything in plastic bottles, in single-use plastic bottles. And there is a move to that. Most people listening will never heard of the character whose name I'm going to give now. A very, very successful musician. He's an old fella now, like myself, Jackson Brown, majorly successful. Will not allow in any of his concerts, any of his tours, he will not allow anybody to bring water in plastic bottles or any single-use plastic bottles with them on the in not just on the stage, but in the tour generally. So I think it's been recognised and supported by some notable people, notable companies. How far do you think we are in getting that message across?
Hi, Lawrence. It's nice to see you, and nice to hear you. So I think environmental friendly behavior is just one aspect of social marketing where social marketing can be applied. Yeah. And commercial companies, for-profit companies, of course, now are trying to make money out of the trend of green marketing and sustainability, because really, if they really wanted to be environmentally friendly, they just need to stop sell less, make less money, and that's pretty much it. It's a very maybe radical view, especially working for a business school, but those companies need to stop selling or sell less if they really want to be environmentally friendly. If H&M is saying, oh, we are selling these amazing organic cotton jeans, and then you can recycle your old jeans, how about you just close half of your stores and don't push it on people? So I think in a lot of so there are companies who are genuinely reducing the environmental impact of their activities, but I think a lot of it is greenwashing. And I know my colleague Grace is here and probably would agree, and maybe we can have a chat about this later. She knows a bit more about that. But yes, on one hand, companies are recognizing the environmental impact and the fact that consumers are waking up as well to these issues. But I'm not quite sure how genuine They are really. Sometimes, sometimes it's because it's a way to make profit. Again, this is what consumers are thinking about. This is what they are concerned about. So they ride on this wave, hey, we'll sell you more.
I agree with you, and I think it's another side of that coin is it's an area where companies can differentiate. But something that I feel is almost essential to make any real progress is that there needs to be a lot of marketing, or we call it lobbying, don't we, when we approach government, local authority.
Exactly.
And I don't know, I've lived in countries where you can't buy milk in plastic containers. Germany is one, Sweden, all of the Nordic countries, and I think Netherlands as well. But here we say, oh well, we can't recycle. We can't recycle aseptic packaging. Therefore, great, plastic goes. But I wonder if there's any real progress to be made by targeting governments, local authorities, and also companies, waste disposal companies to. It's a long haul. I quite agree with you. The point is, are we totally driven by profit, or are we a company that cares about the environment, etc., etc.? We've got Prince Charles on our side, and so on and so forth. It's an interesting question, and I think it's a great area for research.
I agree. And government regulation, government legislation is in some cases important, and lobbying, this upstream social marketing can be applied there, where you inform policymakers what should happen and where legislation should come in. But there are a lot of behaviors, a lot of instances where behaviors of individuals cannot be controlled. Okay, so seatbelt. Yeah. So there has to be action at an individual level. So for example, exercising, you cannot legislate this. You cannot say, you are going to exercise for 1 hour every day, or healthy eating. You cannot say, you cannot, so there are behaviors that, yes, the only way is legislation to change, to affect change, but there are a lot of contexts, a lot of behaviors where legislation just doesn't reach. Condom use, it would be difficult to legislate that. That's what, some of the kind of more conventional marketing programs, social marketing programs also influenced behavior. But if you also look, and I haven't put that in the in my presentation, but I'm actually going to copy it into the chat box. Because Australians are really good at social marketing, and really good set of examples of social marketing campaigns for some really unusual behaviors. So have a look at that. So again, yes, lobbying really important, upstream social marketing, but downstream social marketing, where you have to try to persuade individuals, because those behaviors cannot be legislated. So
exactly. My point is, it cannot just be one or the other. It has to be a combination.
It has to be.
A more holistic, good promotional program, or not just program, stance. I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've talked
very unusual. Not at all. Grace, would you like to come in, because you've got your camera on?
Yeah, no, I just heard Barbara mention my name and figured I'd turn my camera on.
I have to start listening.
No, it's really interesting. Of course, I agree with everything you've said, Barbara. And I think with regards to the point you made, Lawrence, we're living in a time right now where that notion of greenwashing is rampant. Honestly, there's so many brands left, right and center claiming to make certain changes or reduce maybe their use or dependence on plastic. I mean, I think even just this week I saw ASOS, which is one of the UK's biggest fast fashion brands, and fast fashion is just notoriously bad for the environment, pop up an Instagram post saying, oh, here's a t-shirt you can wear in different ways. So they're kind of speaking into that notion of repurposing and wearing things, and the longevity of a typical product's lifespan, which in fast fashion is known for being quite short. But you know, they're saying you have to buy that t-shirt to do it. So, I mean, almost instantaneously in one point, there's a contradiction going on whereby they're saying you have to buy something new to make, to think that you could have something that can last longer. I mean, it's just screaming greenwashing almost in the consumer's face. So, you know, you have to look at then Selfridges and think, are they, you know, actually environmentally focused, or are they trying to increase their sales by saying, yeah, less plastic, whatever. So it's what is that motive? And there are companies, you know, starting to bridge that perspective on things between their intention versus maybe what's actually going on. Yeah, it's there's so much to think about. And then of course the social marketing perspective is almost more desirable because that intention is there from the outset, versus in commercial marketing, which is what I grapple with even in classrooms every day with students when we discuss and debate this. So yeah, I just said I'd chime in and vouch my agreement for what Barbara's saying.
That's fine. I use the Selfridges example because they're not asking you to buy something that you wouldn't necessarily buy. They're saying that we're not selling stuff in plastic bottles. So
from us, we are better.
I take your point about greenwashing. Yeah, the greenwashing is seen as the opportunity rather than the actual act of being more ecologically sound.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a case of going back along Selfridges, maybe management structure, and thinking how is it and what is it that brought about that change? Did it come from a profit seeking, or did it come from, you know, where was the opportunity? So yeah, I agree though, totally.
It's the profile of the people who shop there. I think it fits with their consumption behavior. I think I have no evidence of that, but that's what I mean,
green shopping or green ethical consumption has, and it's still positioned as quite a premium thing. Often you find that it's an opportunity for added profit more so than, and it's made inaccessible then to so many people. I'll shut up because I could keep going forever.
Well, no, I mean, no, you make a good point, because I mean, it's also the rest of the practice around the store, isn't it? You know, where they position other things that normally get sold, and we experienced that in Veganuary, and we're already, you know, we're only at the start of March. You're already seeing a massive reduction in vegan offerings in supermarkets. So you're seeing, it's so, you know, it's so clear that there is so much profit. How much of it is profit versus how much of it really is social conscience. So thank you. Maxine, I'm going to come over to Maxine. I believe we're ready for your question.
Yeah, it's been really interesting listening to that debate, actually. And I'm thinking just a couple of things before we go on to my question. One, I think the profit motive is always going to override the purpose motive. And sadly, that's what you've just been talking about and illustrating. And secondly, I think what you've been talking about, Barbara, is what we might call the nudge theory. So you can't legislate for behavior, but you try and help people to move in the right direction because they really do want to do it really, and they just need the help. So I think nudge theory comes into that. And my question is, you use this word at the end of your kind of presentation about manipulation. And of course, advertising is always manipulative, but what about the specific or particular challenges of ethics in social marketing? Could you comment on that? Thank you.
Hi, Maxine. Thank you for your question and for attending my talk. Ethical issues. Overall, you would think, you know, social marketing, getting people to do the right thing, or what we think is the right thing, or making better decisions. You know, are there any ethical issues involved there? And I think you also mentioned nudging. You know, marketers have been nudging us for, you know, before behavioral economists claim that they are doing nudging now, and psychologists have been doing that and researching that for many decades now. And whenever I hear about ethical issues of social marketing, I'm always responding with a question: what do you think about nudging that commercial marketers have been doing for decades? And whenever I discuss this with, for example, friends or colleagues, they say, well, but they are for-profit making companies, they can nudge us. And for example, governments shouldn't nudge us, shouldn't, you know, make the savings for retirement the default that you have to untick to not save for retirement or not pay your retirement contributions. So I think ethics of social marketing would probably apply to specific programs, and I think social marketing usually, although it does use nudging, and because it's essentially making things easier for people to do the behavior. So let's say recycling, instead of asking you to go to a recycling center, we are going to give you a recycling bin, so you put it in there and then we pick it up. But it's a good question, and I have to say I have not thought about ethical issues of social marketing beyond nudging, because social marketing is supposed to be designed with the principle of co-creation with the target segment. So researching what they think are barriers to a particular behavior, and then designing an intervention, designing a program, designing tactics that work for them. So that's one of the aspects of social marketing. So I have to say I don't really have an answer that or a comment that would somehow think. I don't believe social marketing is unethical in any way. Okay, that's pretty much my view. But
thank you,
yes.
Maxine, would you like to respond? Do you have anything else?
I might disagree with that, Barbara. I think it's incredibly ethical, and it depends. I say there is that co-creation element, but you're talking about agendas going on behind the scenes that influence that discussion. Yep. And who decides what is the right behavior to nudge people towards. In a democratic society, we like to think we have got freedoms of choice, but obviously under COVID restrictions, we've had our freedom furloughed, I think is the expression that's going around. So obviously governments can influence and can help nudge people towards behaviours that are probably not in their best interests sometimes, because there are good reasons to do that. Yeah. But I think there are ethical issues when you're doing that in terms of people's behaviour.
I think there are. So for example, if but I always, again, I ask the question, we've been nudged, because nudging is just small part, one of the tools that social marketers can use, and in a lot of social marketing campaigns there's no nudging. Nudging isn't used in the sense that those nudging guys defined it, but I always ask, so are you okay when commercial for-profit companies nudge you to buy a harmful product? But that's a different aspect of the question, actually, because I think consumers individuals are smarter than we think, than marketers think we are, and they learn very quickly. So in marketing communications, we have this concept of where in and where out. It takes a little bit of time for people to learn, to remember, to notice those adverts, those products. And we learn how to avoid, we learn why certain things are done, but of course not everyone learns, and there are, because we just don't have time physically to be aware and to be informed enough to make those decisions for ourselves. Very often this is and when we talk about programs to encourage people to eat in a healthy way, and we say, well, they just have to be educated, so they know what ingredients to choose, so they know what's healthy and what is it, what is not. And I'm thinking, maybe if you don't work, then you have all the time to educate yourself about every single ingredient. But if you have a full-time job and you're busy, there's no time, no resources to learn what's healthy and what's not healthy. I'm exaggerating now, so I admit that. But I think the responsibility for showing us options and making options that are better for us, easier for us to access, I think it's a responsibility of the government. And I think in general, people sometimes argue about really silly things, and forget about the larger issues. What's wrong with making retailers put healthy stuff at eye level? Okay, and everything else lower down, so we see the better options first. Yeah, I also think, nudging is a bit controversial, because if you don't inform people why something happens, and yeah, what's the agenda behind it, I think it's also how you use it. Yeah, if you design a city in a way that makes it easier for people to walk, so they don't have to drive to a grocery store, is that ethical or unethical? Because that's, we would say that's what social marketers do. They look at how people walk, how people use, for example, town centers, and then we try to redesign it in a way that is easier for them to walk instead of taking a car. Is it ethical? Is it unethical? Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Max. No, not at all. Thank you, Maxine, for your question. Barbara, we are coming close to our time. What parting words, either of wisdom, inspiration, or guidance, would you give to our audience just to close?
If you're a commercial marketer, bored of commercial marketing and being paid a lot of money by big brands, come over to social marketing. We can really use your skills. So I think that's what I would like to say. There's always a very good use for your skills. And the same, because I see some marketing students here. Again, you don't have to work in commercial marketing. There are other options where you can use your skills. Okay. That's all. Thank you very much.
That's a great note to finish on. Thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you, our audience. Really great engagement throughout there in the chat box. I have popped a link in to the remaining events in this third installment of the Business School Professional Lecture Series. So do check out that link, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much. Thank you.